everyone. So how many of you value freedom? How many of you would like more freedom in your life? Financial, time, location. I'm here today because this was one of my goals. And this was one of my goals for the long time. I grew up in Russia, and Carrie, wherever she's at in that corner, hi, I loved your speech. And that analogy with the darts, it so much describes the Russian culture I grew up in. And it's not just one or two darts, it's like any dreams was just killed. And I was growing up in a culture where it was all about not what you want to do, but what can you do to make a living, to support your family, and be okay financially. So I grew up there, and I went to college and got my master's. And Jeff Hoffman, the technique he used the other day of planning backwards. My first manager did that with me. And he's like, well, where do you want to be like next? I'm like, I want to live in the States, and I want to be an analyst, but I have no idea how to do it. So he walked me through exact same exercise, and I just had a flashback yesterday. I completely forgot about it. So a year and a half later, I was living in the States. I got a working visa. They moved me over. I achieved my dream. And then I got to a point where it was time to set the new dream. And that's where I struggled. And I struggled for a while. It took me about a year and a half to figure out what I want to do next. Nothing was coming. I so much blocked my desire and what I want that ideas could not get through. I got into personal development. I went through a lot of transformational trainings, like ripping out beliefs and rewiring my brain, and got so much into it that I became a certified life coach. And I started doing that. And maybe one part of me thought that that's what I would want to do for a living. So at some point, I committed to that. I decided to quit my job and give that full-time a chance. A few months later, I realized I don't want to do that for a living. I do not want to feel like I need my clients to pay my bills. I felt like it brought the energy that I didn't really want to bring into that relationship. And in all that time, I was actually doing consulting part-time. My boss, who was the best boss I've ever had, she allowed me to do what I was doing before, but part-time on my own hours from anywhere. So I was able to explore that freedom and dive into my next phase. I came back to Seattle. I was traveling during that time. And went through a little financial hardship. You can read more on my blog if you want details. And I got the next project as a project manager with double of the salary that I was making before, without doing anything different. Same boss, same project, well, almost the same boss, same group. And something clicked into my head. After reading Tim Ferriss years before and kind of craving that financial freedom that I don't have to go to work, and I thought maybe I'll do it through coaching on the phone from the beach. I realized instead of trying to figure out what I love to do and doing that from anywhere and creating freedom that way, I can actually make a bunch of money doing what I'm really good at, and I actually like quite a lot, and then invest it somewhere, and then I can take all the time in the world to figure out what I want to do. So that switched that thing in my head, and I started figuring things out. I was like, what is that thing that will bring me the good returns? I knew it wasn't coaching, and I knew it would be some sort of business or investments. So I started doing what Ken was saying. I went to a bunch of workshops and seminars and conferences, and I read a lot of books. And I went through all like Peak Potentials, Myriad of trainings, and other trainings where I met some wonderful people. And that's where I met Ken. Backtrack a little bit. Right before that event, I sat down with a spreadsheet. And I looked at the money I was saving with my new salary, and I was like, okay, if I'm looking for investment, what return do I want? And the number I got is 20%. Like right into my head, I was like, I want 20% returns. And I put it in my spreadsheet and calculating how much time do I need to keep working at my job to make enough money to sustain my current lifestyle. Well, at 20%, you only need to make 5 times that much. So that was my goal. I was looking for 20% investments that can pay me regularly, that are no risk, and I can rely So I came to the last workshop I did with Peak Potentials, Never Work Again, and Ken was speaking. And he spent his whole 45 minutes on the stage talking about digital marketing and how can you do SEO and how can you do this and that. And I'm like, I don't do any of that. I want passive. And in the last 5 minutes of his speech, he's like, and for some of you who don't want to do it, we actually do it. Like our company, that's our business. We work with investors. We do all the work. You give us the money and we split the profits. And it's completely passive, hands off. And I'm like, tell me more. So I tracked Ken down. He had to go somewhere, so he introduced me to Billy. And I ended up talking to him for like an hour, understanding their business model. And as soon as he told me that for the amount that I have at that time, which was $100,000 for my first site, my minimum guaranteed return investment was 20%, I knew I found it. I knew I found what I was looking for. And it took me, I don't know, a week to go back and forth and ask questions and understand what the guarantee is and all that. And then I just, it's time. I got my first site. And a few months later, I started getting income, and I was still making my money. A year later, I got a second site. My first one was just the regular site that they have that is the authority site, nothing extra. My second site I got, it was a combination of the website and the Amazon product. I don't believe that's something you offer right in the moment. And then a year later, when I was about to retire, my goal was to work at my job until December 2016. And that was the money that I was supposed to make to get me to what I wanted. But I was running out of time. I was getting really, really close. And I got to a point in my job that I could not do it anymore. You know when you get to the point where you just know that like you would love to, and my boss depended on me, and I came back from my brother's wedding in Russia in July, and I could not get myself together. And I tried 2 weeks, and I'm just staring in the screen, and all the things that used to take me seconds, I couldn't do it. So in a few weeks, I had to talk to my manager and say, I don't know what's happening. I can't get myself motivated or focused. I don't know what to do. We didn't come up with any solution, and she didn't know. And a week later, I came back to her and say, I think I have to go. And I gave her my 2-week notice. She was freaked out. She was like, 2 weeks? Like, I can't even find anybody in 2 weeks, let alone train them. So we made a deal that I would stay as long as they would find a replacement, and I can support and kind of phase out over time. It took me about a month and a half until I was fully out of the project. And at the same time, after I made my decision, after I told my boss that I'm out, I haven't yet had my third site. And I didn't have enough money for my third site because it was supposed to be in December. Billy reaches out to me and say, hey, I reached out to you saying, do you have any news? Anything new going on? Like a year before they had Amazon site rolling out. I'm like, do you have any new strategies, new models? And he's like, actually, we do. And actually, we have a site that somebody bought, but they want a different topic, so we're looking for a customer to take it over. And if you take over that site, because we already did a few months' work on it, your payments will start in just a month. And I did not have enough money for that site. I did not have a full amount. I was like 50 grand short. But I really wanted it, and it really, really, really made sense. So I found a friend who loaned me $50,000 for a couple months. And I paid him back, and I got my third site, like first payment in November. And the goal that I set to retire was by December 2016. So when I was out of my job in October, and I got my first payment, and I was like, is that really happening? I mean, I know I set the goal, and I know I did everything I needed to do, but it was a little bit strange for some reason. And I did some math, and I realized I was wrong in my calculation. I didn't get to 6 figures. I was $2,000 a year short of my goal. And all of a sudden, I'm like, shit, I'm a failure. Like, I set the goal, and I thought I was going to reach it, and I did not reach it. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. It's all a waste. Like, I just completely. And then I'm like, okay, I've done that before. Going in those tangents in my head is like, I still have 2 months ahead of me. I can figure out how to add $2,000 a year to my passive income. Lo and behold, I remembered that I lended money to a friend, and his monthly payments were about $200 a month, which pretty much tipped me over. But it took me a while to get myself together. So I'm retired. And by retired, I mean I have enough passive income coming in that I don't have to work. Do I still do some work? Yes. I still do some real estate investment, fix and flips, and some rentals in Seattle, and actually in other countries now. And after traveling for a bit, in September, October, November, I went to Europe. I actually was able to go to Russia to visit my parents. My dad has a 60-year birthday, which was life-changing in so many ways. We created some amazing transformation between me and him. I came back to Seattle, and it was December. And I'm like, do I really want to be in December in Seattle with all this rain and cold when I don't really have to be here? So I started thinking of other places. And my friend Sky, who's right here, she called me up in December early, and she's like, I think you need to come to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I was like, why? She's like, I think you'll like it here. I was like, okay. So I got my ticket, I flew for the holidays, and I loved the place. Like beach, sunshine, amazing food, cheap prices, lots of raw vegan food, which for me is important. I'm a raw vegan for quite a few months. And in February, I moved to Mexico. Now, I live on the beach. I have my fresh fruit every day, smoothies, dinners for $5, coconut water, 1 liter for $1.50, and I love it. And I thought, it was great. Retired on the beach, what else could I wish for? But you know how they say you never get rid of problems? You just get different type of problems? And I started realizing that it's nice to be on the beach, but if I'm on the beach every day, all day, I get sunburned, no matter the sunblock. So after sunburning 3 times, I realized I should avoid my sunshine from 12 to 3, which brought me another problem. I didn't know what to do with that time, because I didn't want to browse Facebook for some time and watch some movies, but I'm like, I gotta do something. I don't want to just waste 3 hours. So for quite some time, I was stressed about what am I going to do with 3 hours of my day that I cannot be in the sunshine. So what I wanted to say is that we always will get the next goal. Like we reach the goal and there's always something next. And even when we think we got it all, there's something next coming. Do I know what's next for me right now? I have no idea. And there's a big logical part of me really wants to figure it out. Really hard, and I actually have a coach, and I'm trying to work on it, and she's like, nope, you need to slow down right now. And so, bringing it to closing, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for my life. I'm really grateful for how it turned out for me from Russia coming all the way here now in Mexico, less than a year after finally getting my American citizenship. I'm really grateful for Bill and Ken and Carrie for what you do. Because without your company, this investments, I probably wouldn't be retired right now. And not only, I forgot to tell you what also tipped my decision. Yes, it made sense what they said. Their business model, I've been in IT, I know how it works. But what mattered the most for me, I haven't met these people. It was my first encounter, and it was my first time seeing both of them. But I had the feeling. I had the feeling that they're people of integrity, that they're people that they say what they're going to do and they're going to do it, and they just had a really big heart. And I got it in a very short time. I interacted with them in less than an hour, and this was a big decision for me. Because no matter how specific the contracts are and what guarantee you put in them, there's always a way out, and trust between people is very important for me in making business deals, always was been. And that was very important. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be here today. I'm actually really, really happy to see all you guys here. Because as a life coach, I worked with a lot of people who say they want a certain life, but they don't do anything. They sit in their butts, they watch TV, and they go to work, and they don't change anything. So the fact that you're showing up to a conference and are willing to learn and grow and try new things, it makes me happy. Even though I don't do coaching right now, it makes me really, really happy to see people who are doing what you're doing. So dream big, take actions, and everything else will work out in very magical ways. Thank you.